Hey, LiNC family, welcome to LiNC Tour 2025, where we are committed to experience God together this year.
Hey, we just want to shout out to some of the churches that are joining us today. Resurrection Life Church in Traverse City. It's good to see you guys, or for you to see us, I guess. Purpose Place Church, Grace Summit Church, and New Beginnings Fellowship Church. We're excited to have everybody and so many other churches who are part of the LiNC family joining us today. We're pretty excited. We have like over 300 leaders who are joining us today, and I hope your lunch is good. It better be good. And we're going to have a great time together, just learning about ministry and the way that we can reach people today. I want to introduce a couple people to you. We've got our guest panel here today. In the middle here, we have Cheri DeBree. She's the director of CityLinC. And over here, closest to me, we have Greg Molchan, founder of the Grand Rapids Dream Center. And then over there towards Pastor Bobby, we have the founder and the pastor of Acts Gospel Outreach. And all of these people have insight today that they're going to share with us about how to minister to people who are in tough situations.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day. And that's our topic today. It's talking about serving people in difficult situations. And I was just thinking about Jesus. You know, he said, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve and give my life a ransom for many. And so sometimes, the disenfranchised, people that are on the outskirts of what we might call normal life, they need a helping hand. And God has called us to serve people in all generations, all situations. And so we're excited today because we know that the people that are on our panel today, they're in it day in, day out, helping people in crisis situations. And so recently I met Cheri DeBree, who is with CityLinC down in Battle Creek, Michigan, and they have a unique ministry. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Well, we have our main ministry is to serve, as James 1:27 says, the orphans and the widows mourn the orphans. But we have a foster care. We do foster care services, adoption services, and then we also license foster care homes. And so not only in Calhoun County, but we are the only one in Calhoun County that's a private faith-based organization. And when you look at the neighboring communities and counties, there's not a lot of faith-based, first of all, but private adoption foster care organizations. Yeah. So that's one set of programming that we do. We support the children, we support the families, trying to reunify families so that the biological families can stay together. So whatever we can do to support them. And then on our other side of programming, we also run Second Wind handyman services and mentoring. And what we do there is we work with the courts and those that have been involved with the correctional system. A lot of folks that are coming out with felonies on their records, and try to help them through mentoring, again, faith-based mentoring. We have a chaplain on staff. And then we also help them with learning a trade, or lots of different trades, but we try to help them through our handyman services to learn those trades so that they can go out in dignity and seek employment. And actually, we try to then link them to different employers so that they can develop those relationships, and we can kind of help them bridge that and enter back into society and be productive and not enter back into the correction system.
Yeah. Greg, you launched the Grand Rapids Dream Center several years ago. Tell us about Grand Rapids Dream Center. Kind of give us a little overview.
Yeah, so our mission is our big buzzwords are serve and transform. And we would also put alongside of that inside the communities of our city, but also make disciples who make disciples. So it's very much married to the gospel work. People often go, well, what does it look like? We say Acts, ACTS, not to shamelessly take that from you, Moses. Well, maybe a little bit, but because he's the real deal too. But assistance, community, teaching, and service. And the one other dynamic facet too of how it plays out, it's a real simple, unique vision, but build trusted relationships through weekly consistency and authenticity, like got to make sure I can say it, inside the communities of our city. So it very much goes to where the need is. And that's something that was very needed and dynamic that we felt inside of our work. So, yeah.
And Pastor Moses has been with us. He is Moses. You've been with us a long, long time, bro. Yeah. And you planted a church downtown where you minister to urban communities. And so tell us a little bit about Acts Gospel.
Well, Acts Gospel is about reaching people. Our target group is the homeless, the prostitute, the down and out. That's our goal, to reach that group. And we do that by many different ways: discipleship, fellowship, and then we have programs where we can help people who are hungry. And when the pandemic came, we started a grab-and-go ministry. And we've had the opportunity since the pandemic to now to feed 60,000 people. Yep. And that's just our church. And so our goal is to try to clean them up, or let God clean them up and put them back in the race, because I think there's something in everybody. Might took a wrong turn, so our job is to get it out, reintroduce it to society, and then help those that's coming behind them. And we do that in many different ways. We just love what we do because that's what we're called to do. And I thank God that He didn't give me a format on 1, 2, 3. He gave me passion. And so I come in sometime and I'm like to the left and like, it's 1 over here, 2 over here. But it's the passion that I have for what I do. That's why I've been still doing it.
Yeah. Ross, you're lead pastor of a church, but you guys are really connected to your community, to different ministries and things. Tell us a little bit about how you see the local church connecting with these type of ministries.
Yeah, we are partnered with a number of different ministries in our city that are similar to what each of you are doing in your areas. And what it has done is really, I guess to start from the beginning, we kind of asked ourselves that question that every church should ask, is if we disappeared tomorrow, would our community miss us? And we felt like the answer was no years ago. And so we started to change that. We're like, we need to get a hold of every organization in town and see what way we could come alongside them. We started out with 26 organizations we partnered with in the first year. It was crazy. Now we've worked that down to the ones that we probably have 5 or 6 that we're directly connected with, that we are one of their first calls when they have people in need who come in. And we can provide the services the church do, the counseling, the care, the resources, the things like that, and be able to pump those out to those people. So we're constantly working with our community. We had before this kind of chatted a little bit about an organization in our town that is called the Hub, and basically all of these different organizations, different government agencies, organizations, pantries are connected to them, and now we're like a major part of that. And so we get to kind of pour into our community all the time. So it seems like everywhere we turn, there's somebody going, hey, can Res help? And we're like, yes, we can.
Yeah. So Greg, we're talking to local churches, team members of local churches, and you are a part of a local church. And how important is that to be connected to the local church?
Well, there's a couple of things. When, in our context, we're in 49507, and so super high statistics of poverty. Moses is doing a lot of work in there, and we're overrun. And so to have partnerships like what you're talking about, it's the world. Like that's the grease around the wheels that makes things happen. So I think for us, it's always trying to inspire, how can we build that bridge so the local church can be involved? And you can really deploy the body of Christ of what it's supposed to be. And so we challenge ourselves, how can we make that easier, right? And make people feel confident when they kind of come into the work. So
yeah. You guys are kind of like the Jerusalem, if you will. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, othermost parts of the earth. So as a Jerusalem kind of outreach ministry, I know we always need money. Everybody needs money, right? Would y'all take a donation today? But other than that, what are some of the biggest needs that you guys have as your boots on the ground?
Well, for us, the relationship component is so important. Like when you get that relationship capital. So again, it would be really trying to connect people in the local bodies of Christ to come and be a part of the work, because that's where we see the most transformation, or where somebody can be the go-between to facilitate a need with a church or something like that. So that's where, at least for us, we would put that at number one. But of course, the different resourcing and things like that. I mean, food and hunger, that's a thing. And so how can you be more dynamic with such needs like that? I'm blown away by what you guys do. I couldn't even start to unpack that, but by far for us in our context, it would be like people who are local, could they get involved? Yeah.
And Cheri, you guys are kind of a unique, because you're kind of in one sense, you're a specialized ministry in working with, adoption and those type of things, those family dynamics that you have there. And so you probably have to have a different skill set for people to be involved in what you guys do. Is that right?
Yes. So for our caseworkers, which is the majority of our foster care work, they go to school and, bachelor's in counseling or casework or social work, something in that relevant field. We have a contract with the state of Michigan, and so they're very scripted on who can and who cannot fill those roles. And understandably so. I mean, you're dealing with trauma, generational trauma. You're dealing with substance use issues within a family, abuse, neglect, removal. It's just all this traumatizing, that happens within a traumatized system as it is. And so just that specialized knowledge on how to help those children when on day of removal is just the worst day of their entire life. And it's just going to be probably, but for the parents as well who are struggling, it's not that they don't want to be good parents, maybe there's substances in their system, or maybe, there's some mental health issues that they need some assistance with. And so just understanding that family dynamic, and then understanding social determinants of health, which are they, getting proper nutrition? Are they, even in an area where there's transportation available? Battle Creek, which is where we're located, doesn't have a great transportation system. And so we have the bus system, but if you're outside of the city by any means, there aren't Ubers, there are not Lyfts, there are a few transportation companies. And so just looking at all those dynamics, not just the family system and the children and their needs at all their different developmental stages, but also what is the home environment like? And then on the flip side of that, licensing foster care homes, looking at what kind of environment are we trying to set up for these children to go to. Obviously, it needs to be stable. It needs to have love. They need to understand trauma themselves. And so there's a lot of training of foster parents that we do. And then trying to serve and support the biological parents as well. We are all about reunification. We feel that the family can be together. That's where they should be. That's the way God designed it. So that is our goal all of the time. Sometimes that's just not possible. But we try to support as much as we can.
So on a foster care side of things, this is where local church people could get involved if they had a passion to open up their home for families.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about, what that would look like. Let's say that we have somebody listening today that they're even contemplating maybe, the foster care system and getting involved in it. What would be their first steps? How would they go about it?
Well, I was in Arizona for about 28 years before I moved back to my hometown of Battle Creek, and I was a foster parent for 4 years. And so it's a large step for a family. It's something to definitely pray about, but the need is so great right now. My biggest fear for Michigan is seeing what had happened in Arizona, that we did not have enough foster families. We do not have enough foster families here. And so that would be, if I could what is that word? Beg? I don't know. Anyway, if my big ask would be, to get involved somehow, but becoming a foster family, a licensed foster home to these children that are in such great need. when I was out in Arizona, what I saw was it headed back towards institutionalism. And so we had group homes, and it would be homes of anywhere from 8 to 15 youth. And usually it was the older children because they are more difficult to place, more difficult to adopt. So they stay in the system. And once they get to a certain age, it's difficult. So they would go into these group homes where then they were exposed to everybody else's trauma. And then there weren't enough staff to kind of keep those, they weren't serving them well enough to kind of stop re-traumatizing from happening. Mm-hmm. And so these children were put into these homes where they were not properly cared for and unfortunately re-traumatized at times. And so I would not like to see that for Michigan. There is such a shortage right now. We only have 11 licensed foster care homes right now for us. And I think at one point in time, we were up around 25. And so there is a wonderful organization that I will kind of throw out there because it's one of the things that God's laid on my heart coming back is when I became a foster parent, it was happening at the same time that I became a foster parent, and it's called Arizona 127, and it's based on James 127. And it basically took 3 mega churches in the area out in Arizona in the East Valley, and they decided that they were going to take that command very, very seriously. And so they combined forces, they combined talents, they combined resources, they combined finances, and they pulled together this wonderful program that led to, I think in my foster care licensing class, there were 25 families getting licensed. Now, I came in kind of ahead of that push, but I was there while they were pushing this Arizona 127. And because of that collaborative approach, people just felt, because pastors were singing it from the pulpit, they were talking about it. They were talking about the need to care for these young children and giving live examples. I think when it doesn't touch you, it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, they're out there, but it's not touching me, so I don't really have a heart for it. Well, they brought that message to their flocks, and then other churches grabbed. And so it became this big, 3 churches started it, but then it became many churches that joined on. And so Arizona pretty much almost cleaned out like their foster care system with them. Yeah.
To jump on something that you were just saying about churches having the opportunity to share. One of the things for us with the ministries that we support is every week we're talking about them from the state. When we get to the end of our service before we leave, we say, hey, we want to highlight this ministry in town or this organization in town. We also invite them to come and be in our atrium or our foyer to have a table there at resources on a weekly basis, almost every week. And I think pastors, you've got an opportunity. One of the things, or the resource you have that all of these organizations are looking for is the people who are in your seat. And so you have this opportunity every week. You could be tapping in. Something I was thinking about as you guys were sharing, and I'm excited to hear. I've got a question for you in just a minute. But is you as a pastor and you as a church and you as your team, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are ministries in most cities that are doing these things. Most of your cities, my city is not a big city. And we were surprised to find out how many organizations there were in our town that were serving the underserved. And we're like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's partner with people who are already doing it. And as soon as we started asking, we got response back. And so now we have this opportunity to get these organizations in front of so many. The last thing I'll say is this. We had a couple who dedicated their 2 children 2 Sundays ago, and they're both foster kids. And they said at the end of this, they said, if you're interested in foster care, come talk to us, because it's been something that we have just fallen in love with helping these young kids, have a family and a home. So I just think you have this opportunity of people, and you can get these organizations in front of people. And in turn, your community is going to look to you as a church as a resource from now on. And that has paid huge dividends for us in a lot of ways in our city. So, Pastor Moses, you were talking about the homeless people that you're serving and all of that. And I was just thinking, so many of our cities have homeless people that are not being served. And I thought, at least on the surface level, to ask you this question: what have you found to be maybe a most effective way of drawing those people in to be able to minister to?
Well, for us, I believe that if we minister to the people with a whole heart, and not just as some type of a gimmick. And when you show people that you care, you have an opportunity to speak to them. So we go that route to minister to women and children. We have housing, affordable housing, real affordable housing for women and children's been battered, and we have a place to place them. And I think in the home is where it all starts. And we got to try to figure out how do we get back there, because I got good ideas, but it's the home where the upbringing is at. And so I found out that my job, I make it harder than what it is. And if I talk to people who know what I'm doing, because I really don't, I just do, I give a vision and I run with it, and it works. And I like the scripture in the Bible said that if you loan to the poor, God said he'll repay you. And I'm already excited about doing it, and then God said he'll repay me. I gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying?
Double blessing.
Exactly.
He's storing his treasure in heaven.
Exactly. That's not why I do it. It's scripturally bound, so I take the opportunity. But Greg and we cross paths quite regular Dream Center, and I think collaboration is the key to success. I mean, I can do so much, but I can't do what she do. I can't do what you do. I can do what I do. But when we get together and start talking about what we do, maybe something will click, and then, opportunity will present itself, and it always does. But I have to be available. And I think the church has a lot to do with that, the big church, the small church, and I think we're separated, and somehow that model you talked about, I like. Let's put the opportunity out there and see who wants to get on board. But I think sometimes we keep stuff to ourselves and allow us to miss different pockets of community.
Well, I think what you said about passion, about how, you don't do this just to do this, you do it because you're passionate about it. And I think so many of our churches, we're trying to put all these systems in place and all these different ministries and all these different things. And they might not be the passion of our church, but there's people like you guys who are passionate that we can partner with. Let's partner with your passion and bring resources to your passion.
And I'll add, I love the collaborative approach. I think to me that the church, you talk about the four walls, that's not the church, it is the people. And it's when the people go out into the community and meet the need. That's what Jesus did. He didn't stand in a four-walled room. He went out and he met people where they were at with what they needed, and he gave when he could. And he had people come alongside him that had those gifts and talents, and they all collaboratively and were able to minister. And I think there's a few churches in Battle Creek that just are huge blessings to us, and some churches are financial blessings, but other churches came to us, and I had one gift. It was kind of a really interesting thing. It was a menu, and it was like, well, you can get this much money as a partner of ours and get this much in service from us, or you can get a lower amount of money, but we can offer you our video tech crew. We can help you create a video. And if you go to this level, then we'll also add on, you can use our facilities whenever you want. If you want to have a big conference or a big luncheon, or if you want to have something smaller and more intimate. So it was an interesting, I've never seen a menu, but I thought, what a great idea, because a lot of times they'll come to you and maybe just give you finances, but it's like, boy, would we ever love to do a video on foster care and becoming a foster care parent, but we don't have those people, and we don't know how to do that, and we don't have the money either. And that skill is so much more valuable to me than a financial donation, because I don't know the people to go to. They've already got the people, and they're great, and they've got the studio. And so to offer those resources, I thought was very refreshing. And then there's other churches who we partner with that they have us come in, they have us in the lobby, they have us, there's a walkway of partnership, and they have us all, pictures of our buildings, and they have us come and speak. And that's where it's like you get known, and those stories that connect people's hearts, that's when you start then multiplying your efforts, is when people get passionate because you're passionate about something, and it's like, oh, now it's touched my heart. Where if you just stay in your own four walls, I stay in mine and the churches stay in theirs, there's no way to engage and get those people,
You know, as a staff member, even you have gifts and talents that God's given you, and maybe you want to utilize those outside of just the context of where you get your livelihood, where you serve in your local church, and even mobilizing your teams. One of the things I know about ResLife is their college ministry Access. They mobilize their teams a lot to go into different ministries in the city and partner with them. But hey, talk about passion. Greg, tell us, give us one of the highlights of all the years you've done in ministry. What's one thing that really, was reached into your life and made a difference?
That's a loaded
I know it's a loaded question.
Let me try to bring that together. Well, a couple things, what I've learned being involved in the kind of work we do, and I'll kind of go off of some of what you said about getting outside the four walls. Like, one thing I learned that is so beautiful is just getting outside and starting to experience where there is some of the need. One thing you're going to find out that it's going to be messy. And so I think ahead of time for leaders to just know whether, you got to embrace that, and then you're going to inspire your congregation. If you know that ahead of time, it's going to help you cross a barrier that we saw Jesus cross. And so getting into these spaces, though, where people have experienced trauma and such brokenness, that's super, it's changed my heart. Being at such a real level where people are hurting and just being able to, and then just the greatest thing that we can do, that I get to do, is first and foremost, before I try to meet any need, is I get to befriend. And then get in that space of just showing so much value to somebody. And it's amazing what God will do. And God will open some crazy doors and bring you to places that you would think, this is just crazy. I can't believe that I'm reaching certain individuals. I think of, we've gotten, by the grace of God, to reach some notorious characters in the city. Some people we found out later, oh, wow, they're kind of dangerous. And, but you'll be surprised when you're coming with God's heart. It's almost like you get this supernatural protection. I'll never forget a story where we were reaching a guy who was notoriously off the street, and turned out he was a gang member. And somehow, some way, he got later down the road into an alternative school. And then the Dream Center was there. We were doing something. And I'm like, oh, hey, man, what's up? Showing him some love and all that, and talking to him. And then we get done doing our thing there at this school. And then I get a phone call from a teacher later. The teacher goes, what are you guys doing in the community? He goes, this is just crazy. I'm like, well, what's going on? And he goes, that guy you talked to, Derek, that wasn't his real name, another long story. He had a bunch of guys fronting him when you left. They're like, why were you talking to that guy? And blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? And I don't know if because I'm big, they thought I was a police officer or something. And this guy pipes up and says, hey, listen, that guy I was talking to and their group, if you see them in the community, they're doing good. They've helped me. They've helped my family. They're helping a bunch of families that we know of. And he goes, and if you ever mess with them, I'll put a hit on you. And I'm like, this is just crazy, right? Don't. My friend Mark, I'm like, tell him to no, don't put a hit on people, but you're getting protection, from arguably some people who are very dangerous, and only God can give you favor to reach and start to bring change and bring walls down like that. And so, man, go Jesus, right? So.
How about you, Moses? Give us a story.
Wow. It's many.
I know you got many.
But we do housing for women and children. And our goal is to, I don't do too much of the work in there because it's women and children. I'm an outside guy. My wife is the inside person. But we try to restore and bring back and get reintroduced to community. And we had this lady who was in, and she was just having a hard time. She wanted to get back and start doing things, and we created an opportunity for her to do that. And she left our property, and about 4 years later, she called us back. She had got married, had living a healthy life, and things were going good for her. And then we had other issues, and women are always, front runners. Somebody say amen. And they get out and they go and they participate because they have that nurturing spirit. The Holy Spirit said, I'll send you a helper. And then when I got married, he said, I'm going to send you a helper. So we have a type of helper, a Holy Spirit in our life through our wives. That's what I believe. And so we try to help. And then we connected to an organization called Narcotics Anonymous. And we tried to infiltrate that because they need infiltrating.
Yeah.
And so we got it all. We have a meeting in our church now. I've been here 28 years, and I wanted to start that back then. We just started it last year. So it takes time to develop relationships. And so we have a men's ministry that comes into our church free of charge and whatever, use the facility. And so through that, I'm making relationships with guys that he talked about that'll come along and help us. And our idea is to reintroduce them how to be fathers and be responsible, not take advantage and none of that stuff. And we've seen great results in that.
That's awesome. Life change, man. When we see a life turn around and you see a marriage restored, or you see someone that's been addicted and they get freedom in their life, just the end results of being out there and being available. And one of the things I'm hearing throughout this whole conversation is really the key is relationship. There has to be, and God brings those relationships. He brings those connections, because we can't do ministry alone. You can't do what you do by yourself. You said it yourself. I can only do so much, and then I've got to invite other people into my world so that we can really accomplish a vision. If we don't have a vision that's bigger than ourselves, I don't know that we have a really defined vision, because God's kingdom is always bigger than who we are, isn't it? So any last words or thoughts, Ross, as we think about wrapping this up?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, you said earlier, when you first spoke, you said you try to make it easy for ministries to join. And I was thinking about, ministries like this, and in your city, usually they're calling you because they're needing resources. And I hear from people in our town, they go, man, it's just so rare that a church reached out to us and said, what can we do? And if you're wondering in your city, who can you help? What can you do? All you got to do is start looking and make a couple phone calls, and they will be receptive, because they are looking for partners like you to be able to come alongside them. And we say in our city, it doesn't matter if it's a Christian organization or not. I know that people go, what? You're crazy. Man, I tell you what, DHS has been one of the greatest connections that we have, because they're connected to hurting people. And when we give to them without having to put a Jesus sticker even on the stuff to help them in any way that they can. All of a sudden we get phone calls from them saying, hey, we got this family, we got that family, and they can only share so many things, but it makes it possible for us to serve our community in areas that we never were able to. So call them, right? Call the people in your community like them. Don't wait for them to call you.
Would y'all like to have a call?
Love a call. I get my number right now.
Yeah.
So if you were encouraging, here's the last question. If you're encouraging one of these staff members to step out and come into your world, what would you say to them? You're sitting across, the table from them at lunch, and you've got this one opportunity. What's your elevator pitch?
Oh, man. Goodness. It it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to the most hurting, where there's the most traumatic, and to engage in the work and to find a way to do it. We're not the catch-all, be-all, but it's like, again, we're overrun. We're all overrun. We need more foster homes. We need more people mentoring. So yeah, would you get involved? Would you let us cast vision? Would you let us see who's called, who come run with us? That would be the cry in my heart.
How about you, Cheri?
Well, I think I'll go back to the Arizona 127 because I really feel like if every state were to do, if there was a Michigan 127, where, a group of churches came together and said, we are going to commit to this. We're going to commit our flocks. We're going to commit our resources. We're going to commit our time. From the pulpit, we are going to, bring these children and their needs to everyone. That would be my heart's cry, is that we can't do this alone. And even there's small pockets everywhere trying to do this. And if you join hands and you join all those resources together and you come to the table, like, huge things can happen. And that's what I saw out there. And so, I have no idea, if that's part of me coming back to Michigan, but that's on my heart to try to get the churches to come together and figure out how can we invest and how can we make a huge dent in this foster care system where people will go, go Jesus, right? Wow, the church really, really stood up and are really taking care of this need, so that these children can have not only safety and security, but if not us, then who? If not a home filled with the love of Christ, then think about the homes that are going to do it. So it is a calling. And so that's what I would ask, is that you would just look internally in your churches and see what is it that we can do, and could we be a part of a bigger movement together in this state to clean that system out and to create all of these homes that are safe but also filled with the love of Christ. So.
Pastor Moses?
Yeah, my elevator pitch is probably street level, hood rat.
That's okay.
So if you sit in front of me, I just bring the facts, the truth, that people are dying every day. And we're sitting around watching, talking about it, twiddling our thumbs. But if you want to make a difference, let's do something. Let's see how do we stop inner city killing, things of that nature. So far this year, there's been 3 domestic violence murders in the city of Grand Rapids. Wow. And so we need people that will stand up, go out, and show the way, And if you follow me, you will. Not that I'm all in all, but there's some things I can do, and if we want to see change, we have to stop talking about it. We have to start being about it, because if we don't, our city will remain the same, and we'll have that disconnect, that part where that's your part, that's my part, and we're trying to do something whole. And to do that, we need everybody playing. And so if you want to make a difference in your city, all you got to do is want to and be called to it. Don't do it because it's a good idea. Do it because you are called to it. And if you're not called to it, support somebody that is, so that the truth will come forth.
So we want to challenge you. Serve in your community. Serve those who are disenfranchised. Serve those who are in difficult situations. But I was just thinking, as we were wrapping up this conversation today, I wonder how many people are sitting in our churches that don't have an opportunity because we haven't built this bridge to the community. They're sitting there in your church and they're frustrated because they don't want to teach your Sunday school class. They don't want to, welcome people at the door. What they want to do is they want to be in a prison. They want to share their story of how God delivered them from alcohol and drugs. And there's a great opportunity that if you just build this bridge into the community, it doesn't matter what level you serve on staff, you have an opportunity to build your department a bridge to the community and make a difference in your world. Hey, we're on tour in 2025 and we're going to experience God together.